Well, we just got a rain, a pretty good rain, about 2¼ inches. And so it's nice and cool. So I think this is a perfect time to forage some briar shoots. Stay a little cooler foraging in this weather rather than in the extreme heat. These things are pretty tasty. I really like them raw even. Tastes a lot like a green bean. These things are prolific. They'll take over an area that's got disturbed soil. I'm gonna go through this patch. I'm gonna harvest all that I want because there's no shortage. I've just got a gallon jug strapped onto my belt loops here. Gonna fill this thing as far as I can. Now most people probably wouldn't think that a briar would be any good to eat. I know I didn't until I heard about it, but I think they're just as good as any garden grown vegetable. They really are a lot like a green bean to me. These thorns, yeah, they're not sharp until you get further down where they're actually spiky. They could actually poke you all the way up to here, but up at the top, you can't really even feel that they're there. The spines, or thorns, they're the best way to identify a briar, in my opinion. The leaves kind of look like ivy. If you don't look for those thorns, you might end up with some soapy ivy in your dinner. Some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller. They all taste about the same. My only complaint when it comes to harvesting briars is that you gotta walk through briars. It's a pretty easy thing to do though. They're really hard to misidentify as long as you look for those thorns, and they're prolific. Pulling these shoots off will actually slow down the growth since you're taking the growth tip of the plant. And briars are a pretty big problem as far as taking over an area. We got some thistle in here. We have some wild carrots. Got buffalo gourd. These things are really hardy. One day I want to try grafting some pumpkins or summer squash onto them, because you can actually graft onto them and make a really hardy plant out of it. This one's putting out flowers right now. They'll open up to about the size of your hand. We've even got some pokeweed in here. This one's just starting to produce some flowers, so it'd be a perfect time to harvest it. That might be my next project. We got a sunflower here, already about waist high. Got some horseweed. See, this is what I was talking about with the ivy. There's actually some briar here, and then some type of ivy growing up above it, and the leaves. Oh, see, I even misconstrued the two. That's a briar leaf on the left. That's an ivy on the right. And even to my moderately trained eye, they're easy to mix up. But if you just keep an eye out for the thorns, you know what you should and shouldn't harvest. I'm gonna run through here and keep an eye out for all the different stuff that I could harvest in the future. Get as many briars as I can get, and I'll show you the bucket load I've got. Be back right about now. I would like to have a few more than this. That's only one big handful there, but it's starting to rain, and I'm starting to thin out the patch pretty well. One thing I wanted to point out is compared to, say, an ivy, poison ivy, or I think this is poison ivy here, these tops, they look really similar. They've got the same tendrils, same red coloration on the tendrils. If you just looked at the top itself, you would be liable to put this into your bucket. But if you look, there's no thorns on this stem at all. The leaves, they look a lot different, and these green briar leaves, that's what it's called technically, is green briar, not just briar. But these green briar leaves are really glossy compared to these ivy leaves, or whatever this might be. So that's something to keep in mind, and I wouldn't recommend foraging for this if you're really sensitive to any type of poison ivy, poison oak, anything like that, because it all grows really close together, at least where I'm at here in Texas. Where it picks up anymore with the rain, I'm gonna get inside and put these in the fridge. One last note before I put these in the refrigerator. These green briar are really high in iron, they're high in vitamin E, and like any other green or vegetable, they are pretty high in fiber. So there's lots of reasons to eat these guys. So the way I'm gonna cook these briars is, first I'm gonna give them a rinse to get any ants or anything that might be in there out. Got an ant right here. After a rinse, I'm just going to try to spread them out in a kitchen towel. That way I can get most of the moisture out of them. I'll pat them down. I'll set these aside. I'll take that amount, probably just a quarter of an onion. Since this garlic is so small, from it being my first time ever trying to grow garlic, I use a full clove. For the onion, just gonna do a small shred. Just 3 cuts across it widthwise. And then cut it into some slivers. The garlic will get a super fine dice. I'm eating this with somebody who's not a huge fan of garlic, or I'd go a little heavier. I'm gonna put 1 stem from that same bulb of garlic. I'm gonna get a flame under this onion and garlic. The briars will be going in with this and getting sauteed for a really short while. So I'm going to go ahead and throw in the briars. Give them a splash of water. Those look plenty cooked to me. I'm going to go a little bit of salt and pepper like everything else. Here's what the final plate looks like. That's the subject of the video, even though it became a side attraction. And I love the taste of green briars. It's like a free green bean. Hope you enjoyed.